These new rent statistics for renters and homeowners in Canada, it's just, man, it's gonna make you scratch your head and say, where is Canada heading? What's going on? It's DA Born. Welcome to Born with Purpose. As always, like, share, and subscribe. And as always, greatly appreciate it. All right, so I want to read you some stats. We've just approached June. We're approaching June 2025 now. So, we are heading into the halfway point. And, new government, well, not new government, same old government, new PM, kind of. And, but we still got the same old problems, right? Less money, more problems, or something like that. Anyway, so here, I'm going to read some stats. And if you don't mind my eyes not focusing on the camera while reading this, but, I got to read some stats to you that is going to make you scratch your head. And you know what I mean? Because we're heading in a spiral. We're heading in a direction that, I don't know. It's kind of leading up to what Mark Carney and the Liberals plan to do to make us Canadians own nothing and be happy. That perspective. But anyway, here's some stats here from epicnews.ca. 37% of Canadian renters spend between 31 and 50% of their income on rent. That's crazy. 16% spend more than half of their income to housing costs. So you're looking at, because rent is going up so high now, okay? 31 to 50% and 37% of Canadians are in that realm. Man, I mean, it just shows you one thing. Rent is going up and we still ain't making enough money. We're not making enough money. And that's why you got so much people getting evicted, going in shelters. Landlords are struggling because they got tenants who are struggling to pay their rent. It's going on both sides and it's a mess. And continues to be a mess. 37%. All right. So I want to compare this stat with Vancouver and Toronto, right? So 37% of Canadian renters spend between 31 to 50% of their income on rent. Vancouver and Toronto, it's only 27%. 27% spend 50% on rent. But it's a little higher than for spending over half, which is 19% compared to 16%. But before you think, oh, well, you know what? That's probably because more people in Vancouver and Toronto make more money. That's why it's 27% and not 37%. Not exactly. Because cost of living is higher in Vancouver and in Toronto, what happens is, as a result, and I'm not stereotyping here, but particularly Asian and Indian culture, when they come into this country, they see how expensive the rent is. So what do? Okay, so one couple rents a house, right? And then let's say it's a mom and pop, okay? And then their son comes, and their son and their wife and their child live with them. They take one room. And then another son or daughter and their spouse and their child take another room. And then maybe a friend and his wife and a child take the fourth bedroom, right? So you got a house that's $4,000 a month, and 4 rooms, 4 families. They split it $1,000 a piece, right? So when you split $1,000 a piece, of course it's gonna be less. You're definitely not spending 50% of your income, right? Because they're all cramming in to save money in the long term, which is pretty smart, because in doing that, you instead of paying $4,000 a month on a house, you're paying $1,000, and you could save that other $3,000 and put it towards getting your own home. That's how the rich get rich, right? So anyway, I don't want to get off topic here, but that's the reason why Vancouver, Toronto probably has lower stats than the rest of Canada. All right, so and this stat here is from Reddit. It says 39.2% of renters in Canada are facing financial hardships. That is not surprising. So that comes out to what, 4 out of every 10 Canadians who are renting facing financial hardships. They don't know how they're gonna make extra money. They're struggling every single month to pay the rent. Some people are paying partial payments. Some people are missing payments because, look, sometimes if you have to make a choice between feeding your kids or paying that rent, or it's tough. It's tough. And like I said, we're not making enough money in this country, most people, to avoid these financial hardships. That's why that's why a lot of people are going towards looking at portfolio income and passive income, because but even that is a journey, right? That's tough to do. And let's see, let's go more in this data here. So Reddit also says that, yeah, and 24.3% of them are homeowners. So even if you own a home, even though it's a less stat than renters, well, obviously homeowners got more of responsibility. They got utilities, they got the property tax. When things go broke, they got to fix it. And even though you own a home, you ain't got a landlord to turn to when all these problems occur. You either got to fix the problem yourself, or you got to hire someone in the skilled trades to fix it. So yeah, you got 24.3% of homeowners facing financial hardships, which is 1 out of every 4 Canadians that are homeowners, right? Some crazy stats, eh? Wow. Okay, so this status is also coming from Abacus data. 86% express concern over housing affordability. I mean, this isn't rocket science. This isn't any breaking news, but it is 86%. That is a lot of people, which means that a lot of us are struggling, man. A lot of Canadians are struggling. 77% increased difficulty in finding affordable rental properties in their area. So that means that's over 3 out of every 4 people. They can't find a house that's comfortable for them and their family, because everything's so expensive. And if you want something that's comfortable, you got to pay a hefty price for it. Lord of mercy. All right. 57% of Canadian renters expect their rent to rise this year. I mean, by law, landlord-tenant agreement, you're supposed to only increase it by 2.9%. But check this out. It's when you leave a home. If you leave an apartment, let's say you're paying $2,400 per month on rent, and you leave that apartment, that same landlord is going to increase that to $3,000. You know what I mean? So same apartment, just more money. And 40% are considering downsizing or sharing living spaces to manage costs. So it's crazy, man. It's crazy. And this is, I'm gonna lead to what Prime Minister Mark Carney, how this is leading to what his plan is. It's fitting right into his agenda. So one more point I wanted to mention here is that you have a lot of people from all walks of life, and we're not just talking about homeless people, but there's a lot of people in shelters right now across the country. A lot of people, and it's crazy. 9 out of 10 of people that are in the shelters are people who are Canadian citizens or Canadian born. They can't pay their rent, and it seems like more and more shelters have to open up. It's like as soon as a person leaves a shelter, someone is coming in. It's absolutely brutal, and it always happens mostly at the beginning and end of the month. It's really sad, and the reason why it's really sad is because you have refugees, you have people coming in still that are getting fully funded by the Canadian government. People from the Ukraine, as well as from Ukraine and other countries that are getting their rents paid. They're getting their rent paid when you got normal Canadians can't pay their rent, struggling. Now, if that doesn't disgust you, I don't know what would. Okay, but hey, this is all mostly led by the government that you voted in. And when I say you, I'm saying those who voted Liberal. Obviously it wasn't a majority Canadians, but winning party's in right now. But anyway, this is all tying into Mark Carney's plan of the own nothing and be happy quote from Klaus Schwab, the former leader of the WEF, World Economic Forum. But anyway, he says, yeah, you own nothing and be happy, which leads to this. You see that Carney has a plan to build a whole bunch of homes throughout Canada. These homes aren't for homeowners. They are for us who don't own a home to have the opportunity to feel like you own a home, because you will rent by the government. The government will be your landlord, but it'll feel like you own a home. But at the end of the day, you're just leasing from the government. You'll feel like you get the keys to your own home, and it'll feel wonderful. You'll be like, we're finally homeowners, until, of course, you can't sell the house because it's a lease. Just like when you get that car on a lease and you think you want to sell it, you can't sell it because it's a rental, and you feel like you own it, but it's not yours. And that's going to be how these homes are going to be I won't say very soon. I don't know what the timeline is on that, but when you see homes being built up, don't think it's because we're going to see more homeowners in the future. It's because this is their plan to make us struggling renters and homeowners feel a little bit more happy because we feel like we own a home. But this is where we're headed. And these are some alarming statistics, but I want to know what you guys think about it. Are you a homeowner? Are you a renter? Where do you think this is heading for our country? And if you're American watching this, you know what? Drop in the comments. Is it similar to what's going on in the US? But here's the thing with the US, right? Is that you have 50 states and you have options. People have options to move to another state where rent and home ownership is much cheaper. We don't have that in Canada. Well, correction, we have the Maritimes. So you can move to the Maritimes, but if you don't have a remote job, then you're moving to the Maritimes and you can't get no work because there's not a lot of options out there like how there is in BC and Ontario and some, other cities, right? So Maritimes is a great option if you're working from home. But anyways, drop in the comments, like, share, and subscribe to Born with Purpose. I'm your host, D.A. Bourne. And until the next time, I am out. God bless. Peace.